Hi, my name is Elin Tinuviel Thorbergsen, and I'm here to present a digital application that is now under production for the Lofoten Viking Museum at Borg in Lofoten. In this application, I want to show how the object in the exhibition inside the museum is displayed in the original context, that is, where the archaeologist found them. The presentation is divided into three parts. First, a little about Lofoten Viking Museum, and second, the inspiration for the project and the digital platform that are being used. And last, my project, which is the Lofoten Viking Museum application. Lofoten Viking Museum is a part of Museum Nord's network. It's located in the far northwest of Norway, in the middle of Lofoten. The museum was established in 995 and is located on the site where an 83-meter-long chieftain's house from the Viking Age was discovered. It is called an outdoor museum where guests spend approximately 20 minutes walking from one end to the other. The museum's outdoors area features reconstruction of the chieftain's house and two Viking ships. The museum primarily disseminates information about the Viking Age from 800 to 1050 AD through exhibition, guided tours, activities, reenactments and plays. It's currently the most visited museum in northern Norway. Although the museum is built in the landscape where archaeological discoveries were found, the objects are displayed behind glass in the exhibition. Guests often struggle to understand that many of the artifacts were found right outside the museum doors. Today, not all the structure of the houses and burial mounds are visible to the visitors in the landscape, and they often walk right past them without noticing. Here you can see the main building of the museum. Inside there is a ticket island, the exhibition shown in the previous picture, a cafe and a museum shop. This is a reconstruction of the chieftain's house from the Viking Age, along with the original foundation of the house. Just below there are traces of a smaller Viking house and traces of a medieval house. Near the main building are 4 burial mounds that are not visible in the drawn-in image. This photo shows how guests see the foundation of the chieftain's house today. Logs have been laid to illustrate partition in the house, and posts have been dug into the grooves where roof supporting posts originally stood. On the far right of the picture, you can see the end of the physical reconstruction of the chieftain's house. I'm using a platform that already exists. It's called Situated Simulation and was created by Gunnar Liastøl and his team. I'm going to give you a short introduction what this platform is and what it does. This is Gunnar Liastøl in 2009, testing out the earliest prototypes at the Oseberg Grey Mound, a Viking ship burial site. Through the camera on his smartphone, you can see the Viking ship placed in the mounds as the archaeologist found it. The ship is today displayed in a museum and not at the burial mound. Through the digital platform, which show both the real and virtual landscape, the archaeological site is united with the object. In this application, it is possible to zoom in on the ship. Information posts have been placed around the ship so users can read more about it. It is also possible to zoom in on the objects and inventory in the ship to take a closer look at the material, cuts and patterns. All of this is done at the location of the cultural historical site by blending the real and virtual landscapes. I'm showing you this because here lies the inspiration for the Lofoten Viking Museum application. Only the Lofoten app is much larger and illustrates a Viking Age farm society. And here is the sneak peek at the 3D image from the application my team and I are creating for the Lofoten Viking Museum. The houses and landscape are still under construction. What you see here is the Viking chieftain's house at Borg, which originally 83 meter long and 9 meter wide. Viking house is located on a hilltop in the landscape, while the other houses are in more sheltered location. It is common in the Viking Age for chieftain to display the house on a ridge. This made them visible both from the inland and the sea, serving a way to communicate power and territory. In the application, the user will be able to move around inside the chieftain's house, going room by room. They will have tasks such as finding objects in the original places of discovery and locating dissemination posts placed around the house. In these two pictures, you can see different interpretations made by archaeologists about how the supporting structure of the chieftain house might have looked like. Since both options could be correct, the user of the application can choose which one they think fit best. Several interpretations of the building construction are included so that the user does not become fixed on one answer, but understand that there will be different ways of interpreting the foundation of the house. In the chieftain's house, there are living quarters for both people and animals. This is a suggestion of how the barn could look. The barn, which is the largest room in the chieftain's house, was 33 meters long. And therefore, this room receives a lot of attention in the prototype to highlight the importance of livestock. Animals and people will be inserted into the application to show farm works and everyday chores. The smaller Viking house stood at the same time as the chieftain's house. It was 20 meters long and 6 meters wide, much smaller than the chieftain's house. The roof of the house is not final. It is quite possible that the roof had turf instead of shingles, which will be one of the options that can be selected in the application. The house probably functions as a separate farm, just like the chieftain's house. This house was built in the Middle Age, around 11th century, when the Viking Age ended, and probably stood alone on Borg Hill, until a church was built at the end of the 13th century or beginning of 14th century. The house was 40 meters long and 5 meters wide. The building tradition has many similarities with the earlier Viking houses, in that it has the same division of living quarter for people and animals at each end of the house. Now I'm changing the perspective from looking at the 3D construction to look at the functionality in the application. In this picture, I have marked a red square that shows the area where the simulation will take place. Within these landscapes, user will be able to be in the Viking Age settlement as it might have looked approximately 1,000 years ago. I also want the user to be able to move freely and not follow a specific route. They choose where they want to go, see and find dissemination posts and objects placed around in the simulation. When the user moves in the R simulation, they will be able to choose where they want to go and which media format they want their presentation in. The proposal will include sound, text, film, illustration, or avatars that do or convey something. The information is adapted to the media format, so the text can be longer than audio and video present more visually. In addition to the user being able to wander around the landscape to discover the simulation, they must find certain objects from the exhibition in the simulation. This could be, for example, these objects. From left to the right, you see gold foil figures that are quite small but are enlarged here. Oval buckles used on clothing and glass fragments from drinking goblets. Once these items are found, the user will learn more about them. My team and I are still in the early design phase of the virtual environment. These elements need to be put together to create a window into the past, showing how objects were used in the original setting. This approach gives the user greater understanding compared to the presentation in today's exhibition. 3 different programs are used to produce the virtual landscape at Borg. One is Blender, where 3D models are created. Afterward, the models and the landscape are placed in Unity, a program used for game development. Everything is put together in Unity and then transferred to the platform situated simulation. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation as much as I do.